Welcome to the Real Estate Entrepreneurs Podcast.
Welcome to the Real Estate Entrepreneurs Podcast. Today we have a friend from the Houston area. This is probably the second time he comes to the, is it the second or the third time?
I think the first one was a two-parter.
Yeah, we did a two-part because that was a long podcast. Mr. Rick Bresler, thank you so much for coming in, brother.
Hey, it's a pleasure, man. It's a pleasure.
Hey, guys, so this guy's legit, man. He's a great friend from Houston, like I said before. He's in the lending business, but he was also in the oil and gas business for many years, a W-2 guy. And now you run a fund where you do your private money lending, but you also have nationwide lending now.
Yep.
This is something you didn't have before when I first met you.
Exactly. When we started off, we were just local private money lenders, and now we're doing everything from A to Z. So we do the private money, we can do hard money, fix and flip loans, ground up construction, multi-family loans. In almost every state, there's like 5 states we can't lend in, mostly because you got to have brick and mortar to be able to do deals in those states.
Right.
So we're investors lending to investors.
Right. So you understand the business and everything that an investor goes through in order to get a loan and all that, right?
Yeah, so I started flipping probably you're still in high school.
Yeah, maybe.
I started flipping back in '85.
Right. Oh,
and
yeah.
that's all I did.
I was not in high school. I was in elementary.
In elementary. Yeah. So I started flipping back in '85 as a side hustle, which I recommend people. That's how they should start.
That's how I started too.
You just can't jump in and start doing real estate. It's too hard.
It's hard. Yeah.
But I started doing that until after the '08 crash. I was just blessed enough to be out of the market at that point, and then I backed the truck up and reloaded after the crash, when we had the greatest discounts ever.
Wow!
And it was at that point that we started lending back then. So I started lending in 2013. 2017 we formed Katie Capital, so Katie Capital Investments, and then when the non-QM loans start hitting the street, we jumped in on that. And that's been the best thing since sliced bread for investors, those who can't get conventional financing.
Man, I wish those loans were around in 2016 and 17. I think they were starting to come out. Yeah. But the rates were horrible because we were working at the time with core-based financing, and they still had a lot of red tape. Even the local banks here had a lot of red tape. And I remember I was trying to refi portfolios of 20 houses at a time. And man, I had to jump through hoops to do it. It wasn't easy. And then they will order appraisals, and they will order all kinds of things. And sometimes the appraiser wouldn't help you. He will do he'll give you some crazy evaluation on the property that you're like, where do you come up with this? And that's one of the main reasons why I didn't like the landlord, getting into the landlord portion of it, is because the banks were a problem. And at that time, I don't know if you remember. No, it was actually after we did that podcast together. That podcast was somewhere around 2018. The one we did together, that you came to the office in Rosenberg.
Yep.
In 2017, early 2017, I had 2 business partners. And those 2 guys is the ones we had all those properties with. Well, they were W-2 guys from the oil and gas. And I bought them out. So part of the deal was that they were going to keep all those properties that were already rehabbed and rented, and I was keeping the properties that were under rehab moving forward. So we were refinancing all these loans because we had it all on private money. And the banks were giving us troubles. Now, if that would have been today, that would have been an easy deal. A walk in the park, Yeah.
Getting financing today is so easy compared to back then.
Yeah.
Our loans, the marketing's got them as, you'll hear them as DSCR loans. You'll hear them as FICO loans, bank statement loans, no income, no tax loans. They're all the same thing, but they're basically they're non-QM loans. They all have to.
Can you define what non-QM means? Because I know what it means, but a lot of our people may say non-QM. What the hell is that, right?
Yeah. So I mean, it stands for non-qualifying mortgage, but basically think of it as non-conventional.
Okay.
Conventional loan, you're going to need full docs. You're going to have 3 years tax returns, pay stubs. You're going to have to meet debt to income ratios, and you're going to be capped at 10 loans for a person.
Right.
So even then, the guys who got a lot of houses, after they hit 10, they got to go somewhere else.
Yeah, that's the Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac.
Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, right? So then then there's the banks, but banks don't like doing 30-year fixed. Banks will give you a 20-year AM with a 5-year balloon.
Correct.
Most of them. There's some of them, but
that's what I had with Lone Star. A bunch of 20 years with 5-year balloons.
Right. So that that's kind of that payment's kind of expensive.
Yes.
But with the non-conventional, all you need is a decent FICO. If you're over 700, no problems. 680's okay. You're just not getting quite as good stuff.
Right.
Down to 620, but when you get below 680, the leverage you can get is not as great.
Right.
You maybe get 70% instead of 80%.
Right.
And your interest rate's going to be higher. So you're just not getting as good of a loan.
I think 70% is still good, man. Like, because, if you're pulling 80% out of a property and the market corrects for some reason, you may be under the water at some point. You could be.
Yeah. Last year, if you did 80%, like I refinanced some of my properties. I should have done them all. So I feel the pain of everybody who didn't. But I was refinancing mine at 3.49%.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's
30
crazy.
years, right?
That's crazy.
So it was a no-brainer. You didn't even think about interest only back then. You did 30-year fixed, and your purchasing power was so much more.
Right.
Now rates have doubled.
Why? Why? Can you explain why they doubled? Like why last year we had 3-point-some% interest rates, and today we're somewhere around 5 and 6.
All right. So COVID was a little bit of a blessing. We were printing so much money, but the way the government gets the money out there is they're buying bonds, right? They were buying $80 billion a month bonds.
Wow.
So the bond market basically had no returns because the government was buying all these bonds. And so I got a little slide here. I just kind of, I didn't bring that one. But so the interest rates mirror the bond market. You can look at the 5-10-year treasuries yields. They were down around 0. So if you were on a conventional loan, you were getting in the 2s.
Got it.
Right? For us, we could get investors down to 3.49. Well, since then, they've gone from just off of 0 to, I think this morning, we had, not sure when people can be hearing this, but inflation reports came out this morning a little bit higher than before, so it's not stabilizing, it's not going down, it's going up. The market's tanking. It was down like 800 points, and the treasuries were up. Highest they've been in like the last 5-6 years. That means rates are going to go up again some more, because there's about a 1.5% differential between the treasury yields and the interest rates.
Right.
Because these markets get bundled, and so does mortgage-backed securities to the bond market.
Got it.
So that's, so the other thing with inflation right now, everyone knows that $100 next year at this rate may be worth $90 today.
Right.
Or it can be worth $98, right? So it's not going to be worth the same. These guys are buying these mortgages. No, there's two things. They know that people are going to want to refinance once this is over. But it takes about 3 years for the hedge funds to break even on the cost they pay for these mortgages. So if we start refinancing 2-3 years from now, those guys are going to be losing money. So there's different factors, but basically the rates are mirroring the treasury. So as treasuries go up, conventionals going up, the non-QMs are going up. Non-QMs about 1% more than conventional. So conventionals, I think yesterday were average around 5.5% for homeowners, 6.5, 6.75 for investors.
Got it.
At par.
Got it.
So you can buy the rates down, but interest, and we've got different sources of money. We've got hedge fund money, we've got insurance money, and we've got bank money. One of those three is always more competitive than the others, depending on where we are in the cycle. Right now, the bank money is the most competitive source, and I'm getting investors in at 5.75%.
That's still good, man.
We're just back to norms, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
5 years ago, 6 years ago, that's where investor loans were. We were fine.
2017 was 8, 9, and 10, you know?
But the problem is that the houses have appreciated about 40%.
Right.
So those payments now are much higher.
Much higher.
And I'm having real problems getting people to cash flow on 30-year fix and meet the DSCR requirement. For those of you who don't know what DSCR is, it just means basically you have to have 10% cash flow.
Yeah.
Your rent has to be 10% more than your PITI payment.
Right.
And as long as you got 10% cash flow, you can get 80% financing.
So DSCR is debt to service and what's
debt coverage? Debt service coverage ratio.
Debt service coverage ratio, correct. So
but all that means is cash flow.
Right. Now, if you're refinancing possibly at 70%, then yeah, you may have.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Because the only way to beat that DSCR is to lower the loan amount.
That's the key, man. That's why I tell people buy at 70% minus repairs. Buy at 70% minus repairs. Yeah, if you're lucky enough to be able to cash out 80%, good for you.
But if you can do 70% minus repairs, and then you can do a 75% cash out, you're not going to have very much money, if any, in the deal. So, and I've got guys walking away with, still in this market, still walking away with big chunks of money. They did it right. They bought it right, fixed it right. They forced the appreciation, and they're walking out with big chunks of cash.
Big check, and that's they pay zero taxes on that.
And one gal, she just did she did a triplex down by TSU, and she walked away with, after she refinanced, it was like $70,000.
Wow.
On a about $700,000 dollar valued property.
Wow.
So she did, and that was her first deal.
Wow.
And
well, sometimes they call that beginner's luck, you know.
yeah.
So my first deal, I was probably under $70,000, you know.
Yeah. So she went through a mentoring program, and the guy's really good. The mentoring guy, and so she had some really good coaching and stuff, and she had some good help and just hit it out of the park. That's rare, right? That's
rare.
That's the 1 out of 1,000 doing that one.
And we see those, like if you're long enough in real estate investing, and then you start networking with a bunch of people and all that, you're gonna see the ones that got lucky on their first deal. Like they either did a big flip and it went well, or they got their first wholesale contract on the first phone call. Actually, another videographer I have, his name is Sheik. The way he got into real estate, and now he's the videographer for many guys around the country, is he went to start cold calling for some friends of mine in San Antonio, HBHS. And on his first call, he landed a $40,000 deal. First call. It's like, wow, you know? So just like this lady that she cashed out 70 grand, I mean, that's a slam dunk, you know?
Yep.
And then the only bad thing about for those people is that then they think it's like that all the time.
Well, that's the whole industry right now, right?
Yeah.
Because any blind monkey can make money over the last 4 or 5 years.
Right.
Because the market was just going up.
Yeah.
Flippers who just messed up, took 12 months to do a flip. They still came out okay because the property came up 10, 20% more than it was.
That's correct.
I can't tell you how many deals we did where we had the ARV at a certain point at that time.
And then it was higher.
They messed up, took forever, and they sold the house for $100,000 more than they thought. So that extra,
it's crazy.
$15,000 in holding costs.
I'll tell you what. So I bought a property, owner finance. Let's say it was 2.5 years ago, and the guy. So we were gonna wholesale it. He took a $60,000 cash offer, but when I opened title, there was a memorandum of contract on it. And I knew that if I called, and I knew who the wholesalers were. I knew that if I called these people, they were going to want a lot of money out of it. And I said, you know what? This is not worth going after because, they're going to want to have $20,000-$30,000 on an assignment or some crazy thing like that. I'm gonna assign it, so then I'm gonna work for them as opposed to working for me. So I went to the owner and I said, look, man, you got a problem here. You got STDs on this thing, and this is what happened. Can you tell me what happened? So he explained to me, and I was like, okay, I get it, but those guys are gonna hold you hostage on this memo. And now I'm willing to buy the property with a memo in place. I'll get rid of the memo later on, but you have to finance it to me. And he said, how does that work? And I said, look, you wanted originally $75,000 for it. Owner finance it to me. I'll pay you the 75 that you wanted. Okay, but now I'm just gonna start making you payments every month, and I'll give you $5K down. That way, I got a little bit of skin on the game. He said, fair enough. So I bought that property for 75. I gave him 5, so he financed 70. This is 2.5 years ago. My payment, I think it was $749 a month, something like that. That property is worth today $170,000.
Did you get rid of that memorandum?
Not yet. But because I mean, how are they going to win? You follow? They don't have a way to win. They didn't close on it. I closed on it. You follow me? And I can sue them for many reasons, but I'm just letting the memo expire. Basically, they have a expiration date, and I'm probably a year away from that, so I'm not even going to bother. But yeah, because of that appreciation that happened, now I look like on that deal I look like a wizard. It's not really. That's not really the case. Good for it. I mean, if the market corrects, then all that equity disappears, right? But that property is going on Airbnb, and it's going to make a lot more money than it will be on a rental, because on a rental basis it will make $1,500 all day long. On Airbnb, it can bring up anywhere from $3,000 to $4,000. So, needless to say, that property's out there, and that's how we're negotiating every single deal right now. Yeah. It's owner finance to us. I only got 7 years left on the loan now, 7 or 8, something like that. So all I got to do is wait, and the thing is paid for. So now I could cash out, and I'll cash out probably a ton of money if we do the math right now. And let's say my numbers are right in today's environment. So let's say it's $165,000, just to play a safe number. Times, you say you can do what, 80% or 75%?
If your FICO is over 760, we can get you 80%. On
760.
760.
Okay, that's a high number.
If, otherwise, on 30-year fixed and stuff.
Right.
If it's less, if it's over 720, I can get you 80% on an interest.
Let's say 70%. Okay, I like the 70% because
it's safer.
It's safer. There's room for corrections.
There's market fluctuations.
Right. And if the rents come down for some reason, which I highly doubt they will, because they always go up, then we still cash flow on the deal, right? On a regular rental. So let's say 70%. That's 115 minus, we owe probably 60 on it now. That's $55,000 check that we could collect. Now I'm on a 30-year loan, or however many the years that loan is. But
you got money to put to work, right? So
yes.
If you're doing deals that are returning 50, 100%, why not borrow money at less than 6 or 6%? So that you can make your 30, 50, 100% deals.
Right.
Right. So, don't get over leveraged, but you want to use leverage. So one of the interesting things you said, about the market, right? Right now, according to the community I'm around, right, we're still 4 million homes short of being in supply-demand balance, right? And it can't build them fast enough. I think we're at all-time high.
Now, we're talking about the lower end, right? The entry-level type properties, right?
No, that's just nationwide. Nationwide, we're
but it's like, I guess, below $300,000, or is it all like luxury homes, or everything?
Well, no, there's not a whole lot of those out there anyway, right? But
because honestly, man, I think today, how can people afford in Houston a $500,000 home? That's a $5,000 payment, mortgage and taxes, because of the way our taxes are here. right? They're high. People think
You go to Katy, and geez.
no, Katie's like you couldn't buy anything in Katy right now. Like
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be a 500,000 above homeowner, right?
Right.
There's people buying them. They think they're getting discounts and want to Airbnb them, but that's a huge risk. Stick with the affordable housing.
Yes.
If you're an investor, just stay in that lane. If you got
Especially here.
If you got a decent vacation rental or some kind of resort or destination spot, that could be an exception.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to buy $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 homes, and you're depending on AirDNA rents to pay it, that's pretty risky.
Yeah, I got a lot of friends that are actually in that lane. They're doing luxury homes, but they're making money. The only problem I see, not that we know is going to happen again soon, is like a COVID scenario, right? Where we get shut down. I don't think the governments will ever shut down again.
It depends on who's in power. I mean, they shut us down. You couldn't evict people. You couldn't foreclose on people. Yeah. But as investors, we had to keep paying, right?
Right.
I mean, Tom Berry made a good statement. I was listening to him the other night talk how the government can come in and ruin your business. Same with oil and gas, right? It's Keystone Pipeline. The government came in and undid an approved deal.
Right.
And just look where we're at now with oil and gas. Oil and gas companies, they're not going back out and spend a whole lot of money here in the U.S. because they know the government can just shut them down. So what's Biden doing? He's going over to the Saudis and begging them to increase oil because the oil producers here, they're not going to risk their money on a government who's anti-oil and gas, and they're like kind of anti-business owner, right? I mean, if you're a small business owner, and they they tell you can't evict, you can't foreclose, but you better keep paying, otherwise your credit score goes down the tubes, and you won't be able to do nothing in the real estate business without a decent FICO unless you're getting owner finance deals. Right, so
I mean, what I had to develop a set of skills out of a situation.
Yeah, you were the master at that. You've been the master at reinventing yourself.
Yeah,
and moving from one, adapting, pivoting to another, and now what you guys are doing. That's what I've always admired about you, man. You are crushing it every time you turn.
Thank you so much. I had to, Rick. It's one of those things, right? I remember when we started going through all of our downfall, right? And I owe money to everybody, literally, on properties that I couldn't finish. Because the problem was I didn't have people to finish properties. That was it. And then the few properties that we finished, we put them on the market. They're worth $30,000, $40,000 less now because there's a flood of properties on the market that are being rehabbed after Harvey. So it was a perfect storm, man. And I'll tell you the timeline of that. So, and I don't know if I've ever said this on the podcast. I probably have, but the timeline was like this. In July 2017, Dennis and I, you remember Dennis, right? Yeah. He's still my friend, my brother from another mother. Shout out to Dennis. He's actually very successful today building koi ponds all over Houston. So he reinvented himself as well.
Another adapt.
Yep. So, and I'll tell you a little bit of how that happened. But in July, me and him are looking at Ferraris and Lambos. Literally, we were going to buy one each. He was going to buy a Lambo. He's a Lambo guy. I'm a Ferrari guy. And the main reason of buying those vehicles wasn't so much to show off or anything like that. It was because we were going to join both clubs to do what?
Network.
Raise private money. Because the guys driving those cars definitely have money, right? And his engineering mind says, hey, Ricardo, let's wait. Let's just wait, man. Something doesn't feel right to me right now. Let's not buy these vehicles. I'm like, Dennis, we're making all this money, man. We're good. We have money in the bank. We were solid, and we were buying properties left and right. And we were making money when we bought a property because we collected an assignment, because it was a wholesale deal that we were generating for ourselves. But also we were getting rehab and we had a construction crew. And so we were making money in multiple lanes in our own business before we even put these properties back out on the market to sell or to rent. he tells me to wait. He says, let's wait until December. Let's do it in December. We'll do it December for Christmas. We'll do something cool for us. I said, you know what? Fair enough. I'm going to listen to him. Usually I never listen to anybody, but I listen to him. And I'm glad I did, because we would have looked like two dumbasses going broke driving those cars, you know? Harvey hits. And when Harvey hits, I really don't think of much from the general contracting side. I'm just watching. I'm just making sure my properties are not flooded, right? So as soon as the water was low enough to where we can go and check, I had a dually just like yours, a white dually, Ram 3500. I got on that thing because I said, if something is pulling through that water, it's that dually. So we got on that dually and we started going to all of our properties. And we found out that we have 5 rentals flooded. Now, those 5 rentals were part of that deal from those 2 guys that I was buying out, okay? Jose and Brian, shout out to them. They're still friends. And what I did was I pulled the guys from the rehabs, and I said, guys, let's go finish these rentals because we got to put the people back on. That way we don't lose that income. And because it was chaos, man. At that time, we're in chaos now in Houston. Like, houses are flooded all the way to the ceiling. This was freaking something crazy, out of this world. We've never seen it, right? So the guys get back on these 5 properties. They fix them up. And then that cost us a little bit of money, but we had money. So it was a drop in the bucket for what was going to come next. Tenants are back on the properties. Everybody's happy. And when it's time for me to go back in rehab, this is another thing. We had 20 properties on escrow that we were going to wholesale, not rehab, because we are now starting to wholesale deals, and all the numbers were beautiful. And we had houses in Dickinson. I mean, these are good areas, you know, that cookie cutter houses that you just clean up, beautify a little bit, put it back on the market, make a good spread. So we had a lot of private money lined up for those wholesale deals. And Harvey happens. I got to close on these wholesale deals now within like a week, because they were all coming right after that. I had 27 rehabs going, okay?
27 rehabs, yep.
I had 27 rehabs going, and now I got 20 wholesale deals. I don't see anything crazy because my guys are still working for me. I close on them. And after I close on them, that's when they walk out. And that's when I say, holy shit, what do I do now? I got 47 properties on my hands. I got private money paying out every month, almost $250,000 a month at the time. Now we have money. So me as a borrower, I just wanted to do the right thing. I'm going to honor my commitments to my lenders, right? And you know a few of those guys. You know, I had a couple of those guys that loaned us a lot. One of them had $1 million. There was another one that had $3 million with us. They were a little worried, but we were doing whatever we could to honor those commitments. And that's what, you know, we started finishing properties, and these properties will go on the market, and they wouldn't sell because now there's so many of them. And now we're like, well, this is in good areas. Jersey Village, for instance, right? You put something in Jersey Village today, 5 minutes, it's gone.
Yep.
They probably buy it sight unseen, right? These things are dragging on the market for 10 months, man. And we're like, pain. And so that's what forced us to become wholesalers. We just couldn't produce enough money to the amount of liabilities we had. And at some point, I got houses foreclosed on. I had to give back some back to the lenders. 99% of those transactions, we ended up amicable, like in good terms or in okay terms. Like, I lost a lot. They didn't lose much. They probably lost, you know, what do you call this? Interest, because they couldn't collect interest for some months, but they didn't end up getting fucked. Basically.
They didn't lose principal. They just didn't make all the money they were going to
right.
make.
Now, the other 2%, those are the ones that chose to go a different route, and they started suing and all that stuff. So, but yeah, that's how it happened. It was a perfect storm.
Yep. You
know, you had 27 rehabs, then you get the Harvey happen, then your crew walks away. It's funny because I met with my son is going to school, and his father, I met him. Hey, nice to meet you, Ricardo. He's looking at me. I said, man, I know you from somewhere. And I was like, I don't know where. Like, I don't remember you. Like, he said, did you used to like buy houses and fix them? And I said, yeah. I used to work on your cruise. So the guy used to work on my cruise. And I was like, really? How long ago was that? And he says, somewhere around 2017, when I just got here to Houston. And I was in one of your cruise, and that's when the hurricane happened, and that's when we went and left because there was so much money out there. And I look at it, I'm like, man, don't remind me of that. You know. But I didn't have anything against the guy. I mean, honestly, what would you do if you're in his shoes?
Yeah, you're gonna make the money when you can make it.
You know, yeah. I'm paying these guys maybe $200 a day, and now they're going to make $1,000. Come on, man. How do you compete against that?
Yeah.
There's no competition. So that's what started a whole thing, right? So I had to reinvent myself. That's how I became a wholesaler. And you know, and then is one day, I go to his house after we were working on a house somewhere, and I go to the patio, to his patio, and I see this beautiful pond above the ground. Big. It's like, I don't know, it's like a 10 by 20, something like that. And I said, man, what is that? And he's got a waterfall, and he's got this big fish, beautiful fish. They're orange and blue and red. He said, oh, that's what I do for therapy. It's my koi pond. And I'm looking at this thing, and I said, dude, and we're drinking a beer. And I was like, dude, why don't you do this for a living? What do you mean? So, I mean, you're good at it. Like, this is beautiful. Like, if you like this, there's people out there that like this as well. He's like, yeah, I'm actually the vice president of the Koi Club in Houston. And I was like, what?
Who knew?
And I was like, what? Really? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, why don't you offer this as a service? You know, you build it for. So he didn't think there was a business case because he didn't think people would pay for that. He was completely wrong. Eventually, he figured out that there was a business case behind it. And actually, that is a rich person's hobby. So most people that raise koi fish are rich. They're not poor because those things are expensive. And now he's been building koi ponds in River Oaks and you name it, you know. So he reinvented himself. I pushed him because for a while he was hesitant. But we had to figure out what to do with our lives, you know. And obviously wholesaling wasn't producing enough for both of us and to cover all the liabilities we had. But, you know, it's 2022, and out of those 47 properties, I still own 2.
Okay. So.
Yeah. And then a lot of them either got sold or I did 4 didn't lose that we agreed on, and maybe more, maybe 6. But they were ready. Most of them, 2 of them weren't ready, but we did some, I put some cash, gave them some cash that way they could finish the rehab. And then the other ones were ready, so the lender said, nah, I'll take care of it, don't worry about it. And then, and I say this publicly, guys, because this may happen to you.
You need to stress test your investments.
Yeah.
Right now, obviously Harvey is a stress that will break a lot of people, right?
That broke a lot of people.
I mean, you have the your typical little ups and downs, and you got Harvey. So yeah, a couple other guys that were scaling it. You know, be careful about trying to get bought into the scaling stuff.
The scaling, yeah,
It's not for everybody, and you can definitely in the Gulf Coast you can get spanked.
Yeah, if I was gonna redo it over again, which I won't, because it requires too much energy, hiring people. I remember, Rick, I put that 2017, actually in 2016, the year before, when we were ramping up. I mean, this is when we're going like crazy, right? I put 50,000 miles on a Mercedes-Benz I had and 83,000 on a Dodge Ram truck I had.
In 1 year.
In 1 year. That was 130-some thousand miles. Because most of my rehabs were far away. They were in Brazoria, Lake Jackson, Angleton, you know. It was down south for the most part. And it's because every day I went to every house I was working on, and I would do a tour. you know, and we'll have people working in every single house. That's how I started raising so much private money. I didn't even have to raise it, to be honest with you. What happened was I will get a guy like you that had a little bit of money. You come on my truck, we ride, and you go to a house that you see work getting done. Then you go to another one that's finished. Then you go to another one that's rented. Then you go to another one that's being worked. And you go from saying, hey, man, I don't have 80 grand. I have 500 grand. How can I put this money to work?
Yeah.
That's how I raised $15 million worth of private money.
Yeah.
It was given. It was like, take it. Look, there's a guy, that lender, you know. I'm not going to mention his name, but you know this guy. I was going through all this shit. Like, I'm wondering, like, what in the hell am I going to do, right? He calls me and said, hey, Ricardo, I got a few $1 million. I was in Florida at the time. I can't remember what I was doing, but I was at a hotel room in Florida. I will say the first name. His name is Scott. And I said, Scott, I'm not your guy, man. He said, what do you mean? You're doing all these rehabs. I said, I'm not in a good position right now. I don't want to know anything about a loan. I don't want to take a penny more from anybody. I just want to clean my plate. And, you know, until I figure that out, you might as well keep your money. I can probably quarterback you to somebody else that may need it, but I'm not the guy. He said, man, I really appreciate you saying that. Because honestly, I could have taken more money from more people, but the whole would have been, you know.
And there's some people that did.
Yes.
Yeah, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
Some people did.
Knowing they weren't going to be paying it back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I didn't want to do that, and that was, I guess, to your point, scaling. I like scaling wholesaling. Why? My marketing is my risk. That's it.
That's it. Yep. And you got VAs.
And we got VAs, so our overhead now is lower.
Yeah.
Right? When you're scaling a flipping operation, there's so many variables there. And we had it down. Like, we had a system. Yep. The system was rock solid. Yep. But we weren't counting on no Harvey. And that was an unknown that came out of nowhere. Now, if I would have known how Harvey was going to affect our flipping business, I would have never closed on those extra 20 properties. I would have just let them go. Let them go.
Yep.
Because what that did is that increased now our liability, more work we had to do.
Yeah, but there's no way you could have known what was going to happen, right?
I don't see the crystal ball around here.
Who knew Harvey was just going to sit here on top of us for a week and just dump on us? Usually these hurricanes come and go, but this was an
anomaly, right?
Yeah,
that was crazy. It was crazy, right? And look, I'm grateful I went through that, even with all the scars and all the bruises that I got out of it.
You're a better man for it, right?
Well, now I know really what I want to do, right? I was scaling a flipping business out of necessity. I wasn't scaling it because it was cool to scale. I left the oil and gas business in 2015, and the only way I could see paying myself big chunks of money was to go do a lot of flips. So, you know, I was replacing my income with this new job because it was a job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It definitely is a job.
It is a job. And, you know, when you put 108 and 30-some thousand miles on a truck, in a car in a year, you're driving a lot, man. And you know, and you're leaving at 8 a.m. and you're not coming back home until 9 p.m.
Yeah.
I mean, if you come back home at 9 p.m. So people got this idea, I got to scale, I got to go big, I got to go wide. I see a lot of my friends doing that right now, nationwide, right? And I'm like, man, you have no idea the situation you're putting yourself in right now.
If it's a business, right? And if you have the right construction management and the right people, you have to have the people and the processes in place to do it. Without the right people, especially watching your contractors, you're going to get taken to the cleaners. You got to watch your money. You got to watch your contractors, and they have people in place.
Yeah, well,
But that's not for everybody. And everybody has that ability to run a multi-million-dollar business like that.
No.
They're good DIY people. They're good fix and flippers. They're just going to be good at doing one or two at a time. They're not going to be good at doing 100 a year.
No.
And other people can do 200, 300 a year, but they've got the systems and the people in place. So,
yeah, if I had to do it over again, I would do it in multiple cities. and I will have a rehab, let's say one in San Antonio, another one in Houston, another one in Dallas, then another one in Oklahoma City, then another one. My eggs will be all spread out. And then I will have now multiple contractors working on multiple projects to where if something happens on the East Coast, I'm not affected on
You don't have all your eggs in one basket. Right?
So, but I had all my eggs here in Houston because I wanted to keep these properties also. Some of those properties weren't going to be rentals. And I was under the idea that I had to have my rentals around me at the time. Now I don't. I'm like, I could care less where they are. If I have one, I don't even have that many anymore. I don't like it. I don't like being a landlord. I was telling you earlier before the podcast. It's a necessary evil, it keeps your tax bracket lower, you can write off things, and talks to a CPA about that. Now, let's talk about this, Rick, because this is where you're real good at, I think, in my opinion, other than servicing your clients through your lending business. Is you're good at making, I wouldn't call them predictions, but you're good at reading where we're going, seeing what interest rates are doing, what lenders are doing, how the market is behaving. Where do you think we're headed in the next 12 to 36 months?
Yeah, so I think it's, now this is just me, right? Based on the people that I'm surrounded by a really good nationwide network.
That's the power of the masterminds. You invited me to that mastermind. I haven't committed to it yet because I got like 3 other ones going on. But
COVID killed a really good one. It was called Good Success.
Oh yeah,
it was a faith-based real estate mastermind group. Amazing people.
Is that the one in Indiana or?
There's one it's based out of Indiana.
Okay.
If you knew guys like Eddie Wilson, Tom Olson, these guys were part of that mastermind. Wendy Sweet, some of the biggest ones. Biggest people around were in that one. I mean, Collective Genius is a big one,
right.
But it was right next to that one. It's great people. But here's couple of interesting facts people may not be aware of. But I have a meetup the last Wednesday of the month at Quest.
Yeah.
And we do a market update, which I think a lot of people that come there want to hear the market update stuff. So there's a few other people in town that they're pretty good at keeping up with that. But there's an excellent chance we're going into a recession, right? Historically, when inflation got above 5%, there was a 45% chance we were going into a recession within 12 months. All right, that milestone hit the second quarter of 2021. We went over 5%, and now today the numbers were like I think 8.6, 8.7, which is BS. We're probably more like 14, 15%. It's worse than they want to advertise.
I think it's higher than that, even the 14, 15%.
It could be, right? It could be. Just,
I mean, look at cars. But now, the cars got a chip problem and all that. But look at houses. Even watches and things that I'm like, you're like, what? Gas.
We'll get to that in a minute, right? So that's pretty cool. But then, so 45% of the time when inflation hit over 5, we went into a recession within 12 months. When unemployment got below 4%, 42% of the time we were in a recession within 12 months. That 4% number hit the first quarter of 2022 this year. Mm-hmm. When both of those happened at the same time, we went into a recession every time within 12 months after that. So historically,
we should be
it's almost a certainty. Now, every cycle is different than the previous cycle.
Right.
Things aren't always the same. But the government is increasing the Fed rate by design to slow the economy down. What's inflation? Inflation is just too many dollars going after the same goods. Right? The U.S. printed $6 trillion over the last several years.
Right.
And Europe and the other countries printed $4 trillion. So there's $10 trillion out there looking for yield. Right? So why are things going nuts? You got all this money out there looking for deals. But we'll get more into that. So, but by design, the Fed's increasing the Fed rate. So how does that help cure inflation? what they're trying to do is trying to make money too expensive to be doing stuff. If the interest rates get high, your projects that were economic are no longer economic. The numbers don't work. They're trying to slow down the economy. Well, slowing down the economy means not doing projects, not doing big deals, right? If this company, it's not going to work when my interest rate's twice as high as it was when I thought it was going to work. Same with buying a house, right? This house worked when I could get 3% money. It doesn't work if I'm getting 6, 7% money on it. So they're slowing the economy, but by default, that means people are going to be losing jobs. By default, that means unemployment is going to be going up. The government can't say that, right? The government can't say, we're going to put you into a recession.
They'll create chaos.
We're going to try to do a soft landing, but there's almost no way they're going to do a soft landing, right? Employment is going to go up. And so we're running out of time. So I'll try to
that's good.
Try to be quick. Anyway, but we're going to. So there's a good chance we're going to go into a recession. People are going to be losing jobs. Now this is nationally speaking, right? Fortunately, I think we're in the Houston market. Houston's always been a little more stable than the rest of the country, right?
Florida, Nevada, California, New York, those things they just
Florida,
deflate.
Texas, but Texas and Florida are hot, right? We're going to stay hot. What's interesting now is because of COVID, as you know, a lot of people are now having their own businesses, right? A lot of people left corporate, and they've started their own little small business. What's going to be interesting during this recession is how many of those people can hang,
can survive.
Because that's, when you start your own business, usually it takes you a couple, 2 or 3 years to get going.
To break even, to see money.
So we're always seeing, now the high energy prices, that might be a blessing in disguise. Rick, now you're actually absolutely nuts to everyone is tuned out. But because of high energy prices, people aren't driving as much, they're not doing as much, it's taking more money out of their wallets, they're not buying as much stuff. That may be by design as well as to keep not buying stuff, right? If
keep them from moving.
If you're not buying stuff, that's what you also hear the word demand destruction. The government, what they're trying to do is demand destruction. They're trying to destroy the demand for stuff so that inflation comes down. So if you don't have as much demand for lumber, lumber's going to come down. If you don't have the demand for cars, car prices will come down. So you'll hear that term demand destruction. So the government, that's what they're trying to do, is slow everything down so those, the demand's not there, and then the supply and demand get back in balance, inflation comes down. But it's all going to take time. This economy is so superheated right now, and there's with the Russian war and just droughts, and there's all kinds of things that are hurting supply shortages. China, locked down the country recently again. They're just now opening it up. There's just a huge still supply shortages. The good thing, lumber's down. Look at lumber futures. It was down to like 562. It'd been up over 1,000. So lumber prices are getting back in track. Builders can get windows again. So the supply disruption is not as bad as it was, but there's a good chance we're going into a recession if history proves to repeat itself, even though things change. But in Houston, well, historically, I had some slides I was going to show. Except for the 2008, 2009 downturn, though, the real estate business has done well. Because every time the Fed pumps up rates, afterwards, interest rates fall. Every time. I was going to...
Guys, what I'm going to do, guys, with Rick, because Rick has got these beautiful slides, I'm going to create a call that we're going to do on YouTube. We're gonna stream this sometime in the next 3 weeks. We can put the date on it. That way, 3 weeks from releasing this video. So I don't know when that's gonna happen. But I want to go through that presentation with you because I think this is a hot topic and it's a pretty good topic to go around.
Right. But every recession we had, then boom, real estate rates go down, right? So that's one of the reasons why we're really helping investors understand how to get loans on your properties.
Right.
And right now, the interest-only loans are pretty much the way to go because you can keep doing it. If you have a good deal, do it. That real estate's going to be more expensive a year from now. Prices aren't going to stay at 20% appreciation.
So you don't think real estate real estate prices will correct?
No. It's not going to be like 2008, 2009. There is no bubble. There's a shortage.
Yeah.
0809 was a bubble. After in 2010,
let's clarify that because this is a good topic. So we're headed into a recession. We just don't know when the recession will hit, right?
we just don't know what the gravity of that recession is going to be, and it may not be a recession. A recession is defined by 2 quarters of negative GDP. We've
Right.
already had the first one.
Right.
We'll know. But this next quarter, if we're in an official the recession is hindsight. You don't really know you're there, but it's all being set up to go that route.
But I want to clarify that a recession doesn't mean that prices of real estate are going to tank.
That's exactly right, because it's like
No, because people, when you say recession, people remember they go back to 2007, right? 2008.
Right.
Oh, the debacle is gonna come, and we're gonna go and you're gonna buy cheaper and this and that, and I'm like, no. Hold on a second.
But here's the interesting thing, right? And you're going to hear the media talk about in the future, oh man, the market's going to crash. It's not. In the last couple of weeks, new home sale applications have dropped dramatically. Everyone knows
Because of the interest.
because of the interest rates and such, right? So the market the applications and home sales have dropped in the last couple of weeks dramatically. So the media is going to play that as, all right, we're going to have a price collapse. It's not true. We're just not going to have 20% appreciation. We're going to get back to the healthier, normal levels, I believe, which is still good. I mean, if I get 5%, 6% appreciation a year, hey, I'm happy with that.
Right.
We're just not going to see 10, 20% appreciation. Houses are going to the rate of price increases is going to slow down. We may even see a pause, but as long as there is a demand shortage, there is no bubble.
Right.
We're still years from meeting supply demand, but stay in the affordable lane. Don't get outside the affordable. It used to be $100,000 homes, right?
Yeah, that's what I like. I like the 300,000 and below. 300 and below. 300 and below.
200 yield 100,000.
Yeah. 300 and below nationwide, right?
Yeah.
Here in Houston, we're looking at 200,000 because 300,000 is already getting into the fancy.
But builders can't even build homes for 200,000 hardly.
No. It's cost too
anything
much.
200,000 below is you can find those deals. They're not building those anymore. There's no money in for builders. So, stay in that lane, and it's not sexy, but profitable and not much risk.
And it's safer.
And talk to us about. Then the thing is, well, what am I supposed to do, Rick? Am I supposed to sit on my cash, or
No.
because your cash is going to be worth 10% or more less this year, But I need some gunpowder for next year. If the market does get better, I need some gunpowder. Guys, money is cheap right now and easy to get. You need enough money for down payments.
Yes.
You don't need. It's not like your dad's time where I need cash to go buy stuff.
Right.
You can get non-QM. You can get money from private money lenders, hard money lenders. You just need enough for the gaps. So, if the numbers work, do it, because that house will be more expensive a year from now and 2 years from now. It's not going to be cheaper.
I get that question asked on our channel all the time. Should we wait? I was like, no, the time to buy is today.
The day is still the best day to buy a house looking forward. It's not going to be any cheaper. You may get it as cheap, but
No.
I doubt it.
Historically, Rick, look, to predict the future, all you got to do is go to the past. And if you look at the price today of a home that was built in the 60s, right? Those houses were selling on the 60s for $15,000, $20,000, $30,000.
Okay, I see them all. You see them all the time too. You're buying them, right? I've bought houses where I saw the original, mortgage. It was like $32,000
Right.
on when I bought over off of I-10.
Right.
And the house today is worth $200,000.
Actually, it's probably a lot more.
Or it could be even more.
Yeah. So if you're playing the short-term game, which is I want to get rich tomorrow, that's what 99% of the people do. They want to buy today and be able to sell tomorrow for $30,000 or $40,000 more, or whatever the number is. But if you really want to be an investor, you're looking at 10 to 15 years from now. So for you to know what your property is going to be worth 10 to 15 years from now, go 10 to 15 years back. Because now you're gonna be able to say, okay, this property I'm buying for $100,000 today, 10, 15 years back was actually 50 grand. What does that mean? That double in price.
Yeah.
So if you're buying today at 100 grand, what do you think is going to happen in 10 to 15 years from now? The same thing, because real estate just continues to go up with inflation.
Yeah. Let me put a little thing out there. So my email address is rick@kcifunding.com. I've got this rental evaluator, and I was showing this at our meetup a month, where even if you are having almost no cash flow, just with the principal buy down and appreciation, investors are getting like 40, 50% returns. That's why a lot of you guys are getting outbid, because there's investors that got money. They don't need the cash flow. They're betting on the future. And
they're controlling.
With the principal buy down and appreciation alone, they're getting 30, 40, 50% return on their money.
Right.
Of course, it's leveraged. It's not total cash on cash.
Right.
You throw in positive cash flow, the returns are 100%. And I've got a real estate evaluator where you can play with the numbers and see that. So if you give me an email, say, hey, Rick, saw the podcast. Can you shoot me over your rental evaluator?
Awesome.
It's a simple spreadsheet. So it's rick@kcifunding.com.
Awesome. Well, Rick, thank you so much for coming in today, brother. It's always a pleasure. We're gonna do that Zoom call. That way we can go through your presentation.
That'd be cool, man.
That'll be pretty cool to do. And guys, don't forget to hit share, like, and subscribe. I don't know if this is coming before Attend Growth. I doubt it. But if you didn't attend attendgrowth.com in Houston, Texas, June 24, 25, 26. I want to see you on the next one. I believe we're going to do it in Orlando, Florida. This is my last event in Houston. So if you didn't come to Houston, then you're out of luck. Rick, unfortunately, won't be able to make it because he's got another commitment already that weekend. But don't forget to hit share, like, and subscribe. Find Rick, Katie Capital. He's got good rates, good money. And by the way, this is not a sponsored program. He's just my friend, and I wanted to talk to him about what the market is doing and all of that. But they do have great rates. They're doing loans all over the country now. I love to support his business. So feel free to reach out. And for those of you that are in the Houston area, hit me up. I got a few months left over here. I'm going to be leaving pretty soon. Hopefully by next year I'm out. And I like to shake your hand before I'm out of here. So with that being said, guys, I'll see you on the next one. Bye. Bienvenidos a la entrevista con el señor Máximo Rosales. ¿Cómo estás, Máximo?
Bien.
Cuéntame, ¿por qué no estás en el colegio ahorita?
Porque estoy en
En Spring Break. ¿Has aprendido a jugar? ¿Y qué juegas ahí?
En un parque.
¿En un parque? ¿Y qué hacen en ese parque? Este es un parque de diversiones. ¿Y qué hay en ese parque?
Amigos.
¿Hay amigos?
Sí, yo tengo